Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We do hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you ever so much for joining us. If you're listening to the show for the first time, you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on Twitter at Last Word on Spurs. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. And we are here bringing you instant reaction to the fixtures being announced for the 2023-2024 Premier League season. I had to remember the year there, because I've been saying 2023 all day. So it was 2023. It's also 2024. I won't even let these guys try and confuse us to where we're going to be going on this show. But we are here to provide you an instant reaction as to those fixtures, what we make of them ahead of Ange Postecoglou's first season in charge at Tottenham Hotspur. We're not going to get the second one the way our club's managing their managers these days. We're joined by three wonderful, great returning guests, the beaming great returning guests. Many of them call them the GOAT panel. Let's get into it. We're delighted to have back on the show. He's the runner, instructor, conductor of Almighty, this crazy train. Lee McQueen's back in the house. Macca, all good, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good. Yeah, really good, thank you. And I'm not sure when you're going to get your world exclusive that has definitely never been seen or heard before. Do you want me to do it now, Rick, or we'll go around the panel first, and then we'll come back to me? Yeah, we'll do it. We'll come back. But really looking forward to tonight. Fixtures, the fixtures, they always throw up something, don't they? And I was totally expecting Chelsea on the first game or second game of the season, Poch coming back and all that. But they ignored us, and they did that. You know, the random computer, Rick. You know, the random computer. They made Burnley play Man City. Like what a coincidence. Vincent Kompany, going back to his old club. Honestly, you couldn't write this stuff.
You couldn't. You absolutely couldn't. Like I say, the incredible. I mean, I've had Ant on the phone about 7 times already today. Let me know his thoughts on them. We just keep saying the same. We're saying the same thing. We are saying the same thing. The conversations don't really change. We're just going back round in a circle, coming to the same conclusion that they're utterly fixed. Back alongside us on Last One on Spurs. A little bit of a break, bless him. We've got the wonderful Mr. Cracknell's in the house. Crackers, lovely to have you back on, mate. You okay?
Very well. Can you hear that?
We can
I can hear
that.
it in the distance. A little bit of didgeridoo coming down the line. Can you guess what it is yet? Oh, no, we're not allowed to say that anymore, are we?
Not this time, anyway.
No, exactly. All well, Rick. Everybody's keeping well and keeping good. And thanks for the invite back on again. And can you believe it, Rick? Astonishing, at 9 a.m. this morning, we play everybody in the Premier League twice, once home and once away. It's incredible. It's absolutely blown my mind. It's just it's so weird. But has nobody ever thought to put like some pressure onto the Premier League or whichever stuff suit is in charge of it to how they get these fixture lineup? Because I'd love to see this random computer. It's just, you know, it's they say it's random. Well, is it ratified? Is it, you know, is there like Alan Dedicoat from the lottery? Somebody with white gloves that adjudicates it? Somebody comes in from outside? It's just, it's a mystery. I think they go down the pub and just go, right, what do we want? Oh, yeah, that would be good. So, yeah, but look, you got to play everybody home and away, haven't you? So, and there's a couple of tricky runs in there for Ryan Mason to deal with. Sorry, I mean, and Postecoglou. Towards the back end of the season. Yeah. What a Freudian slip there, Rick.
I tell you what, we have been making that joke in our WhatsApp group that the interimship for Ryan Mason the third time, my God, he'd be lucky to get 2 wins out of 6 out of that for those last 6 games to come in that running. I tell you, absolutely brutal. One man that said on Last One on Spurs when the appointment of Postecoglou happened, he would need a kind fixtures to begin with. Jason McGovern's here. Jace, we'll be getting into those fixtures, but how are you first? Are you enjoying your time away from Spurs? Lots of cricket, lots of golf, we can see.
The US Open on at the moment. I'm waiting for the Ashes tomorrow. I've had the volleyball on last night. It's lovely and relaxing time away from Tottenham Hotspur, mate. You can't beat it all. Can't beat it all.
A little bit bronze as well.
You know, when the fixtures came out, we're playing the 19 teams we thought we'd be playing, and we're playing them all twice. So, you know, some real surprises in that. But no, it's a tough start. 3 away games in the first 4, and then a big derby as well. So Angie's going to have a tough baptism of fire.
He is indeed. We will get into, of course, those fixtures. Let's go back to Lee. Go on, Macca.
There's been a few references, and Crackers has teamed me up nicely. So here you go, lads. To welcome Anne to the fixtures list, I'm going one better. I'm actually going one better.
Jesus Christ, he's got a bazooka.
Here we go, boys and girls.
He's going to shoot me.
I feel rotten now, Lee. You said I've got a little world exclusive, and then I've done that. I had absolutely no idea that was coming. Otherwise, I'd have kept me powder dry on the little YouTube clip. Oh,
I've got no words. I've got no words.
I'm having lessons. I'm having lessons with the local Aborigines at the moment about how to display when the Spurs. You know, we're connected with Tim Winstone and all the guys down at Spurs song sheet. So if you see me on the opening game against Manchester United with this massive stick in my hand, it is a didgeridoo and I'm rocking it.
Today is the didgeridoo, is it? Today is the didgeridoo.
So many questions. I mean, where from? Where do you buy one of those? I mean, are they on Amazon, eBay? I mean,
no.
Where does that get delivered? How does that get delivered? How do you buy it? How do you deliver that thing?
I actually got it from Australia. So I was lucky enough to go and tour in Australia years ago, different life traveling, and I bought it. And I got the thing back, and it's been up in my loft for, I don't know, fucking 15 years or whatever it's been. And I was like, I'm going to get that down and play it live. Last Word on Spurs, mate. YouTube. This is a world exclusive. Macca and the didgeridoo.
I mean, you know what? I don't know how many times I say this on Last Word on Spurs. The new boys are on here. I don't know where to go from here. We've just, we have got quite a bit to talk about, but I generally do not know where to go. We'll turn our attention.
Did we do it out?
Did we do us out?
Tell me, you are actually playing that. You've not got somebody like to the side pressing like play on a cassette or something. No?
I promise you. Look, I'm not very good, but I promise.
Can you play Waltzing Matilda?
I promise.
Talk about blowing his own trumpet.
There it is.
Hey.
Brilliant. Sorry, Rick.
Right. No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm used to the show being derailed in a better time than you three are on here. I've got absolutely no chance of trying to keep this together, quite frankly. I do feel like an interim.
I don't want to say magnificent. There was a brilliant story for the golf today. Because 3 of the golfers are interested in buying leads, right? Buying leads. Yeah. And they interviewed one, and he was talking about, we're looking to invest. It's so exciting to be in the Premier League. Nobody's obviously told him they've been relegated. Obviously, no idea that
Leeds in the Premier League.
He's thinking, I can't wait to play Man United and Chelsea, and instead he's going to be looking up Shrewsbury and Grimsby. I mean, nobody's told him that.
Oh, man. Right, we're going to turn our attention to some club news to begin with. This broke actually just before we came on air, and that's that Tottenham Hotspur confirmed the departures of Arnaud Danjuma and Clement Longley following the conclusion of their loan spells. Also, the club, as we know, obviously previously formally announced that Lucas Moura was going to depart the football club. We have seen some development squad players also leave, which I'll come on to in a second. But Lee, let's start with you. Any real surprise there? Arnaud Danjuma, Clement Longley being, you'd say, formally now confirmed as released from the football club from their retainer list, and they'll go back to, of course, their parent clubs at the start of next season.
Well, the only surprise about Arnaud Danjuma is that he was still at the club. Like, he's never seen the bloke, which is a real shame because I think he's a talent and we could have definitely used him or utilised him. It's weird, actually. I think, I can't remember who said it. It might have been Billy T on Twitter or somebody, but they said about weird that we got rid of Hill to bring in Danjuma and never played Danjuma, and then obviously, do you know what I mean? Like it's just a bit strange, but I think Hill might do something under Ange Ball. Let's find out. I'm no disrespect to Longley, but I'm glad that he's gone back. You know, I think it confirmed everything that we thought at the beginning when he signed on loan, which was he's a stopgap and not a very good one at that. There's no way on this planet he's going to be able to play Ange Ball with the pace or the lack of pace that he's got. And quite frankly, it's a good decision by the club. it felt to me that Barcelona were just kind of trying to tout them as much as they could. When you go down a beach sometimes when you're in Spain or whatever, and you've got the the hagglers, and they're, oh, go on, buy this handbag. It felt a bit like that, didn't it? Go on, you can have him 6 million. Now go on, 4 million. Go on, take him. So, I don't think even at that price, with the greatest respect, it's not what we need. Major surgery in that back line, major surgery, and Clement Longley is not major surgery. And even if he stayed as a backup, it's not. I'm no offense, he's not good enough. So, we need major surgery. We need some big, pacey, proper centre-backs coming into our football club this summer.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I will just say, Rich, to come over to you, is that, interestingly, with regards to Longley, technically worth pointing out, the club had no option to buy. So it is simply saying his loan has ended. So there could be every chance, I'm not saying it will happen, that Spurs may go back in and buy him permanently. I mean, there's been obviously lots of rumours that Spurs may well do that, and they might get him at a cut price fee for Barca. But any real surprises, Rich, with regards to that announcement today from the football club?
Yeah, well, never say never with these things, isn't it? It's sometimes you get a mattress on a 200-day trial. I don't suppose many of them end up going back permanently, do they? So, you always end up buying them. I don't know, because I don't really know with this brave new world under Postecoglou what he's going to be looking for. 4 at the back, and we've literally got a defence that's not set up for 4 at the back. So there does need to be a real overhaul. And you think to yourself, he looks to get pressing, he looks to get some speed, and he wants to play high lines, and that's not Longley, is it? So I don't know. It'd be quite telling, won't it, who comes in, because everybody that comes in needs to be in the Postecoglou mould. So we'll be able to see who are the club buys and who are the manager buys, because it's not a director of football buy at the moment, is it? That's for sure. Window's now open, still no director of football. So who is doing the buying? And you've got to get a defence in, and you've got to get them together for a pre-season. You have to have that. It's start to back fours more than any other position, or like midfield or forwards, need to be in sync and in tune, and they need to be feeding off of each other and knowing this one does that one and that one does that one. Even more than midfielders. Midfielders is one goes, one stays, and strikers are just like stick it in the back of the net, really. I mean, obviously it's a little bit more technical than that, but back lines have to almost be telepathic, don't they? So, but we've been promised football where the other team's not coming over the halfway line. So do we actually need a defence and a goalkeeper at all? That's, really. Perhaps we could just like play, I don't know, 8-2-1 or something, maybe. Like, I don't know, or like 2-8-1 or something. So yeah, it's no surprise. No surprise he's gone, but no surprise if he comes back either, is there?
No, I agree. Jace, to come over to you if I can. We have also had some news that the development squad now, players like Jamie Bowden, I think you got a really feel for him. He had a lot of injuries in that final season at the club. He actually showed some real decent promise. He was part of some of the Premier League, NFA Cup squads, and I'm sure now for him, he'll really want to go and test himself for his own career. But we've also seen Callum Cisse, Malachi Fagan-Walcott, Roshan Mathurin, Marcus Mier, and Romain Mundle, who was known to be a big talent. They're also leaving the football club. Thoughts, Jace, on the retainer list and those that have left? Any real thoughts for you? Longley, Arnold, Danjou, any real surprises?
Well, hopefully Danjou was going to give Longley a lift to the airport, because he's so slow he'll miss the plane otherwise. Mundle's probably the one that's made a big breakthrough at youth level, hasn't he? That got plenty of attention this year. But do you know what? When you look at how Sancho developed at Dortmund and how Jude Bellingham has, and you see some of the youngsters now starting to go abroad, I think it's go and learn your craft and go and play proper football instead of just being stuck on substitutes bench. I mean, you look at Japhet Tanganga, for instance, and now his development has completely stopped. You know, and I think if those young lads look at that, unless you really break through in the way that Skip and Kane has, then I don't blame any of those youngsters for moving on. I think John will tell you the club made a decent offer to Mundle, but I think he's got better opportunities elsewhere, but more importantly, opportunities to play. So good luck to him. But I mean, we haven't seen Keenan Bennett's and people like that went to play abroad and they haven't broken through. So there's still a long way for those youngsters to go. But it's always sad when you see a good one leave. But Marcus Edwards has shown that it's worked to a degree for him, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it has to. And I think, again, we'll keep an eye on things because, there's every chance Spurs being Spurs. If there's a chance that Longley can come back at a cut price and Spurs, as we've seen before, don't get necessarily their number one centre-back targets, I would say don't be surprised at all whatsoever if you see Clement Longley arrive back at the club, Lee.
Just on that, Rick, and this is, I think, the major frustration with, certainly my breaking point last season at Sheffield United, but the whole frustration with the situation with the board and what they do, because time and time I'm going to say it a few more times, time and time again, this happens whereby we say, we can't get our top target. Well, go and get your top target. Now, this guy could have and should have been Bastoni last season. And this is the point. Now, we're sitting here in 8th place because we don't go out and get Bastonis or Guardiols or, Gahis. Or, we go out and get Longley on loan as a stopgap for what? To send him back and then be in exactly the same situation as we was in 2 years ago. This is why I'm excited. That might be perversely weird. This is why I'm excited. Scott Munn's coming in. Big Angie's in. There's a director of football coming in. There's no way them 3 big personalities, big new faces, senior people in the club are not going to be listened to or heard. And that's why I am more excited moving forward. But they can't keep doing the same thing. They can't keep giving you Rodens and Longleys and the likes when you're looking for other players to push on. It is clear as day what we need as a left centre. We need a new left centre back with pace and power and the ability to command and be aggressive and push up the pitch. And it is clear as day that we do not have one of them in our football club. So go and get one and go. And I'm sure they will. I'm absolutely sure they will. And I don't care where they come from in terms of if they're 5 million or 55 million, as long as they've got all the key attributes as what I've just said. And not exactly what I said, but you know what I mean? Like, I think we're broadly on the same page as what we need. And that's what we need, not somebody, as what Cracker's just said, who's slow, turn of pace, gets done on the ball, and is a stopgap. We don't need any more stopgaps, Rick. Are you with me?
But all I would say, Lee, is that you also have to make realistic targets. So we wanted a Bastoni, for instance, but if you live in the real world, Bastoni's waiting for a Manchester City or a Man United or a PSG or a Barcelona or someone like that. He's not, though, that level of player is not going to look at Tottenham. We're not going to pay him 450, 500 grand a week that would make him forget that. He'd look at that and think, if I go to Tottenham, I'm not going to win anything. I wouldn't be in the Champions League coming up this season. And I've just played in a Champions League final. What is the point of me going to a club like Tottenham? So, I mean, if Chelsea have missed out on Europe, he's probably still got confidence that Chelsea will be in Europe in the next couple of years again in the Champions League. But Tottenham is not an elite level club that can attract elite level players. And the problem comes that if you spend all summer chasing these players, that it just drags on and on and on. And then you suddenly hit August the 1st and surprise, surprise, they still haven't signed for you.
Yeah,
so everyone that wants us to do a transfer like that, go and get this done, go and this. The transfer window's open, why haven't we signed 7? We are not going to sign the quality of players that we want straight away in that window because they will not come to Tottenham. We are not an attractive club for them at this precise moment. We might have been 4 years ago when we got Ndombele in early. And when you look at it, Ndombele came early. How did that work? Richarlison came early. How did that work? Perisic came early. How did that work? Vincent Janssen came early. How did that work? Bissouma came early. How did that work? Sonny came on the last couple of days of a window. How did that work? So, it's getting the quality in of a player that sees Tottenham as a genuine opportunity. Bissouma, I think, will be fine. But if you go for Bastonis and that, you'll waste all window and get nowhere.
Well, just on the Bastoni thing, it was an example because we
yeah.
And we went and actually when we're looking at Bastoni, we're in the Champions League. We've got Antonio Conte at the helm. We've just got into the top four. We've got absolute momentum. It was a very different landscape this time last year than it is today. But I do agree with you. I'm not arguing. Actually, I do agree that people have got to have their expectations. Like Guardiola, he wants 350 a week, 400 a week. He ain't coming to Tottenham. Simple as that. But there's people out there that we should be looking at. And I'm not saying that we've missed out. Well, we have missed out on Indicata, to be fair. But when you look at his pace, you look at his power, you look at, 22 years old, I'm just hoping that, and I'm sure they are, the scouts are looking at these, but it just feels like with the Longley piece, sorry to go on, Rick, is that, he'll do. That's what it just felt like that. And I don't want to be in that situation again because there's so much quality. There's lots of comments coming in. There's so much quality out there that will come to Tottenham. But, I think Maddison will come to Tottenham, but we won't get him because he'll end up going to Newcastle because of the Champions League and the money and all that. All the things you just said, we'll probably miss out on him, but he probably would come to Tottenham. Does that make sense? So
I think he will. Our big danger with that is that Newcastle will just outbid us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what exactly. That's the point. So yeah, it's tough. But the point being on Longley is that he was a makeshift make do, and now he's gone back. So we've just wasted a year basically. We've got no knowledge on it. We've got no investment. We've got nothing out of it whatsoever, other than a stopgap.
We've actually stopped somebody coming in that wanted to come to Spurs and could have developed in that year. We have literally just stopgap because we went after one of these crazy big signings that's never going to happen. Somebody could have come in and developed, and look, the whole club just needs a bit of stability now, doesn't it? It's just been turmoil and chaos. Changing managers, mismatch of squad. It just needs, right, this is it. You can go, you can stay if you want to stay, and start bringing in some players. But, as Lee and Jason have quite rightly said, that do want to come to us. And I don't know, mate, there's a little bit of a balance to be had of going and pushing for players, not like a Bastoni, but somebody that will come to us if we pay them the right money, because the money is there. But something in between a stopgap and a Bastoni you've got no chance with. Push the envelope to bring those players in, and just give them a manager for 2, 3, 4 seasons at least. Somebody to buy into, and develop some relationships and some squad and some togetherness. That's what we really need. It's not so much the individuals at the moment. It's just harvesting some sort of stability that we can actually work off of going forward. That's what we really need now.
Yeah,
I totally agree. I really do. And just on that piece, I'll just say what Jason said there. I think the only concern people have is that the fact that at this time last season, we were just in the process of tying up Bissouma, who would have been our second signing of the summer. And I think, again, when you look at the clubs around us, Chelsea look like they're going to get Casado, Arsenal look like they're going to get Rice, Liverpool just got McAllister. I'm not comparing us to those clubs because I did say this on the last show, and I didn't want to be, again, rude or disrespectful when I say this. I think Spurs are currently shopping and fishing outside of those clubs at the moment. And I hate to say that, but I think we are, at the moment, just trying to keep amongst the top 6 in the most polite way of saying that. We have got to beat the likes of the Brentfords, the Brightons, the Villas to the signings and make sure that we're at least going to try and get into the top 6. That's not where I want Spurs to be. That's not where I want Spurs to be. But I think with this rebuild, Macca, to let you come back in on this point, I think we just need to get back to seeing a brand of football we can all get behind. And ultimately, I think we all know this season is going to be, I know we get bored of saying this, it's going to be a transitional season. I think we all acknowledge that. We all accept that. It's going to take time. It's going to take patience. I think, like you said, Lee, we're going to have to try and find that patience. We've been patient for such a long time. Can we be patient yet again for another season?
Yeah, I mean, just to come back on that, if I may, the key things that you said there is looks likely they're going to get. Like, they haven't signed them. Other than McAllister, you named 3 players there. McAllister signed, but Rice hasn't signed and Casado hasn't signed, just like Raya hasn't signed. And the reality is that we don't necessarily we're shopping in maybe a different supermarket than what they are at the moment, but we're also shopping for different players. I would argue we're not shopping for a Casado because we've got Basuma, or we're not shopping for a Declan Rice anyway. We're shopping for a goalkeeper that seemingly no one else is. So I think we're looking at that. I mean, how many people are actually looking for top class left-sided centre backs other than the whole world? But who else is currently looking for top class left-sided centre backs at the moment other than us in the Premier League? I don't know the answer. That's a question, but it's looking likely to get, because of social media reports and journalist reports, it's very different to they've signed. It looks likely that Mason might go to Man United, but he might not. Do you know what I mean?
And like I said, I just made that point off air as well, where everyone's doing a meltdown that Arsenal will sign Rice and he's going to do this for them and that for them. But one of their best players this year is Xhaka, who's leaving. It's almost certain Thomas Partey will also be going. So when they're signing Rice, they're not bringing Rice in to go with Xhaka and that. They're having to replace with Rice. So yes, I'd sooner have Rice than Granit Xhaka, but Xhaka will be a big miss to them.
Chicken and rice.
And they've got Champions League football this year, which means the demands on Rice will be that much higher than just than just that he had this year. So you don't have to go into complete meltdown because they're signing a player that he's going to do this and that. And we see this every year. All these players that are going to join these clubs and they're going to be fantastic, like Nicolas Pepe was for them and Fabio Vieira was for them and things like that, end up doing nothing. So just calm a bit down. Wait till the window's finished before you blow up.
I do agree, but I think it also.
Do you know what, Rick?
Go on, Craig.
Jason makes a good point now. I mean, you look at Xhaka, okay? Club in turmoil. He was all over the place. The club settled. Xhaka absolutely developed and become a really decent player. He just completely turned himself around from what I said, because there was some stability, something to buy into, something going forward to hang your hat on, rather than the flotsam and jetsam of a Conte and then Mason and then Stellini and Mason and then Jacques Santini back for 2 days and Danjuma for 10 minutes. And stop it. Just have some stability, because then we will see. I'm still convinced that there's a lot of players in that team, that even in the current squad, that will and can be much, much better than they currently are, with something that looks like a stable club. So, this season, yes, probably 2 seasons will be just fine-tuning things, seeing who can step up, seeing where we do need to. We've got to get certain positions bought and done. We do. But there is so much more to come from a lot of these players. I'm convinced of that. But once if they buy into Postecoglou, I think we see a totally different vibe around the club.
Yeah, I must say the club update was meant to be 5 minutes. It turned to half an hour. I mean, what was I expecting with the 3 talkers on the show tonight? It was meant to be brief, but there we go. We are actually here.
The show, Rick, you called us goats. Now you want us off.
Yeah, but I didn't tell you what I meant. I didn't tell you what I meant by goats, did I?
Oh, goats.
Yeah, something like that. We are, of course, here providing you with reaction now to the Premier League fixture announcement for 23-24. Now, look, I think, again, it's caused shockwaves, as it always does amongst the fan base. And as Cracks rightly says, we have to play these teams home and away twice. But, of course, it's just how these are being put together, in how and the order it's done so, which raises many, many questions. Jace, I am going to come round to you to open up. Of course, the fixtures were revealed this morning, which for Spurs, it means there's, of course, no European for 14 years for this campaign ahead. And Spurs' latest new era under Ange Postecoglou hands 2 tough fixtures to start his life in North London. He knows that his first competitive match now will be a trip to Brentford on Sunday the 13th of August at a 2 p.m. kickoff. And he'll have to hit that ground running. He's got Manchester United to come, second game in. What a home game to come. And he's no stranger, Postecoglou, to a tough start. And the fixture gods, you could say, have not been the most kinder. So for him, it's Brentford away first up, with games against Manchester United at home, Arsenal away, Liverpool at home to come in the first 2 months. You spoke a lot about the fact, Jace, that he would need a kind fixture list to begin with. What has he been served up, Jace, on the basis of today?
Well, it's a difficult start for sure, but Poch had a difficult start, if I remember rightly. It took him a few games to get into stride. I remember losing at home to West Brom. I remember losing at home to Stoke. Really struggling at home to his old club against Southampton. Late goals against the likes of Swansea's and that, where his ideas come in. But I mean, the good thing that we've got between those fixtures, we have clear weeks, and I don't think you should underestimate the fact that we've got clear weeks between those games when other teams in that time will start. I mean, we'll play Liverpool, for instance, at home straight before a Champions League game. We'll play Arsenal away straight after a Champions League game. So, you do have that little bit of an advantage on some of those games. And when I just looked in the general fixture list overall, we don't seem to have that horror run apart from right at the end of the season. I remember that run last year. Do you remember we had 4 successive home games? Man City at home, Arsenal at home, Chelsea at home, West Ham at home. 4 of our biggest home games all in a row. We had Man City away in that time. So when I looked at the fixture list, I didn't see any real horror run like that. And that's important for him. But, there's no easy games in the Premier League, is there? So, I'm actually quite confident for the season ahead. I really am. I know everyone thinks I'm mad, but I'm quite confident. I think those 3 weeks will make a massive difference to us and count badly against some of the clubs that everyone keeps saying will be above us.
I mean, Lee, coming over to you, look, not only will he visit his new home in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and once in the club's first 4 Premier League matches, it's 4 away games in the first 6. That does put you in a harder position from the start. Only 4 home games in the first 10. And I think there is a concern, Lee, that it may give the league a really weird look. It does feel like it's a ridiculously hard start, despite the fact we say you've got to play everyone twice. What's your feelings, Lee, and how this magical computer has thrown these up?
Love the old random computer. I always remember it like back in I think Ant and Deck have one as well now, but the No Edmund show or whatever, where you had like the random computer. It's like some big thing that you pull down like a one-arm bandit and it just chugs out. It's, Man City versus Burnley. Oh, that's a coincidence. I don't know. I'm like Jace, to be honest. I'm not that bothered about it. I mean, look, I think April's a little bit tricky because obviously, yes, we're playing once a week, but we're going to have our FA Cup semi-final, obviously in them dates, aren't we? Sandwiched in between probably the Newcastle and the Man City game when we're playing our semi-final in the FA Cup. But by that point, we'll have the League Cup already in the bag with Ange Ball, so at least we'll have that trophy off our back. No, look, seriously, I think that if you look at Brentford away, you would rather have a home game, wouldn't you? And you'd rather not essentially go to Brentford. But I'm not that bothered about Manchester United at home. I think the first home game with Ange, and like Cracker said, if everyone's behind it, we've made a couple of good signings and we've been playing some good stuff in pre-season. I think we can turn them over. I'm not bothered about Bournemouth as well. I think we can turn them over. And people are looking at Burnley. Under Vincent Kompany, they're going to be all, fantastic. We've struggled against Burnley away all the time. Who wants to go to Turf Moor? It's 2nd of September. Is that a weeknight, is it? Because everyone always tells me who wants to go to Turf Moor on a weeknight and when it's raining. But now they're playing ball, it might be different. And we should be beating, great respect, because they took us out of the cup, but we should be beating Sheffield United as well. So I look at them fixtures and I'm thinking, well, the trickiest fixture there in terms of the big 6 is obviously we're playing Manchester United, but Brentford and Burnley away are tricky fixtures. But you've got to be walking away with 10, 12 points out of that, haven't you?
You'd like to think so. You would. I mean, we'll come on to obviously the rest of those fixtures to come. Go on. Yeah, I mean, listen, it wouldn't be an inaccurate guess there, for sure. Crack's bringing you in. I mean, like we keep making that reference, you have to play everyone twice, but I think we can both say that's a tougher start than what Postecoglou would have wanted. And I think the fact it will take some time to implement his style of play, it is a grueling running too, that, we will just share that now because you could arguably say it's one of the toughest run-ins, that Spurs will have when you look at those 4 fixtures and you look at and reference, of course, the back end of the season, April and May, with context there, West Ham away, you've got Forest at home, Newcastle away, City at home, Arsenal at home, then into May, Liverpool away, Burnley at home, Sheffield United away. How confident are you, Cracks, that based on, like I say, the opening fixtures, he can get us off to a good start? Because it's not going to be easy, is it?
Well, Brentford away, no Ivan Toney for starters. So there's teams that are going to play Brentford towards the back end of the season that will have him. He'll be back. So I mean,
Crackers. He didn't play at White Hart Lane, and they beat us.
That's true. That is very true. I'm just trying to talk this up a little bit. I'm just trying a little bit of positive mental attitude. Man U at home. Look, start of the season does throw up some funny old some score lines sometimes. So before some of the big hitters do hit their stride. So Man U at home, second game. Who knows? It's one of those an early season game that could throw a result our way. Then Bournemouth away again. It's so hard to see and say because we just don't know what Postecoglou's going to bring us in terms of football and the style he plays and players in and players out. Burnley away, Sheffield at home. Look, it's if things go our way, you could be 5 for 5 there either way. You really could. So it is tough. The Premier League is very, very tough. There is no easy games. It's not like La Liga or the French league or the Bundesliga was a little bit more competitive this season. So it is really, really tough. You talk about the back end of the season as well. Newcastle may well have gone deep into the Champions League and be quite knackered. Ditto Arsenal, ditto City. Let's face it. I can't see beyond City, to be honest, with the league. I think that's done and dusted. So we've got these midweek rests, which says to me, in both domestic cup competitions, which is our only two realistic chances of winning anything, I don't want to see, if he's still here, Harry Kane sat on the bench at Sheffield United away or Peterborough away or, Colchester at home or, Leyton Orient away or wherever. I want to see us absolutely going for every game, Premier League and cups. Cups we have to. This club badly needs something to cling on to, and a League Cup would absolutely give us everything. I mean, look at West Ham and winning the Europa. And I know Jason calls it the checker trade, and I'd have loved to have won it. I was more jealous of West Ham. Jason, honestly, and this is why I love this show, because you're head in hands. I'd have loved to have gone and won it. Absolutely love to have gone. And we are crying out for something like that. That's about our level at the moment.
They've had one of their worst seasons as a Premier League club, and yet that will go down for them in their history on one game of how they've gone and done what they've done.
They, in some respects, had a better season than Arsenal.
They've become those players have become legends at that club on the basis of one game. That is the truth.
Yes, look, I know.
Jason, anything crazy they have, though. They have.
I know that players are not going to join West Ham, or they're the current Europa Conference League winners, and so I'm not going to go to Arsenal. They're in the Champions League, but I'm only speaking from a fan perspective, in that I just want to go and feel something like that. I was more jealous of West Ham than I was Man City. I genuinely was, because with Man City, there's a lot of whys, whats and wherefores without stepping into any legal minefields here. That West Ham went out and earned that. Now, you could say that their squad cost more than all the other squads put together in it. But they still went to a final and watched their captain lift a cup. And I want that. That is what I want from a fan perspective. I'll take that all day long, because you cannot hold a check up on the top of an open top bus qualifying for the Champions League. No one's turning out to see that. Win a cup, see how many people turn out for it.
Could I just ask everyone a question? It's just literally a quick, yes or no.
That doesn't happen on this show normally.
I know. That's why I caveated it. Do you think that Tottenham Hotspur will be better, not in terms of necessarily the whole league season or like in terms of finish, but in terms of playing, the way we are, the mood and all that stuff? Do you think that Tottenham Hotspur will be better next season than we were this season? Just quick yes or no.
Yeah, I do agree.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, I do think we'll be.
Based on that, just based on us four, because I agree as well, you go back to that fixture list, we were in absolute turmoil, utter turmoil against Manchester United, and we drew 2-2 at home. Yet we're sitting there going, oh, we might get turned, we're going to get battered or whatever. You know, we were absolutely rubbish against, when we played Bournemouth, and we got our jaw against them. But the point I'm making is that some of the areas that we're looking at, we were utter turgid last year against some of these clubs. And we only lost 3-2 against Bournemouth, at our place when we were turgid. Yes, we got turned over by Brentford when we were turgid, but we didn't lose to them at their place. So I know football doesn't work like that, but I suppose what I'm trying to say is that if we think all of us unanimously are going to be better, even if we're 1 or 2% better next year with the feeling, whatever, we're going to have a decent chance. Them first 5 fixtures, in my opinion, I agree with Jace, I agree with a lot of comments. I don't think they're that bad. Honestly, when you look at that, perfect timing, mate. If you look at them, I think we can easily go to Brentford and win. I think we can get a win at home at United, and I will put money on us beating Bournemouth. I think we'll go up, we'll beat Sheffield United, and then we might. I do think Burnley away under Company is a tricky tie, but that's easily 10, 12 points there, easily.
When you look at the fact, of course,
the great thing with Burnley under Company is that they'll come at you. They won't park that bus like Dyche did and just try and play set-piece football. Yep. So actually, I think Burnley will be a better fixture for us.
Yeah. We're not sitting back under Ange, are we? No. We got to get our heads around that as well. We are going to be going at these teams full on. We are going to be going at these teams. They're going to be like, hang on, they're just thinking, oh, good old Spurs last 3.5 years going to come park the bus. Double-decker buses for Jose, a 1-decker bus for Antonio. We won't think about Nuno. And that's what they're going to be thinking. We're going to be totally on the front foot, high line, high press. And in actual fact, you're looking at, David Raya coming to us, going back to his old club, point to proof, all that stuff. I think they're tasty, mate. I'm talking right up. I think we can get 15 points out of that, Rick. Top of the league, boys.
Isn't it bad what this does to Lee when he gets carried away after half an hour? You show the fixtures. It was all depressive this morning. He's
get the didgeridoo back out, Lee. Get the didgeridoo back out.
He's convinced himself we're going to win the bloody league now on the basis of those 5 fixtures. Right. The fact, of course, no European football will mean for Spurs they'll enter the Carabao Cup. Oh, this show. With, of course, no European football, we will enter the Carabao Cup at the second round stage. That's when he needs to play that bloody trumpet. The second round is scheduled for the week commencing the 28th of August. Spurs will have successive away trips, first down and up the country with Bournemouth and Burnley, currently set for August 26th and September 2nd. We'll then make it a double bill of matches against promoted teams by following up against the Clarets with a second home game of the season against Sheffield United on September the 16th. And then comes, of course, the first North London derby under Ange Postecoglou. Of course, we have that short trip to the Emirates on September the 23rd, followed quickly by yet another third home game against Liverpool. And the journey through to the third promoted side, Luton Town, comes on October the 7th. And the first time that we'll see former Spurs manager Mauricio Pochettino in the opposition dugout comes on November the 4th, when Chelsea make that short trip to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, with the cauldron of Stamford Bridge set for February the 24th, 2024. Guys, there's lots being made, of course, of how those London derbies have fallen in the fixture list. Cracks, for you, happy with how they've fallen? Arsenal very, very soon, and then right towards the end of the season. Chelsea, of course, as well in there. Thoughts of it?
Yeah, the London derbies are funny. It doesn't matter if they're start, middle, or end. Do they? One of the only times I actually made Arsene Wenger right was when he said it is very, very difficult for a London team to win the league because you've just got so many difficult derby games, and they always are. It doesn't matter where they come in the season. they're tough. They are always tough. So just the interesting one for me, obviously Arsenal home and away, first one everybody looks for, isn't it? But that Chelsea one and the dynamic of Poch coming back to the lane, it's going to be weird. I mean, we're home to them on the 4th of November. I mean, if we're doing really well, I think it will be a lot different to if we're doing really poorly, then I can see his name being sung and it will be weird. It will be very, very weird. It'll be weird for Poch as well, because let's face it, we all know Alan Brazil was talking about this morning on his breakfast show on TalkSport. He said he absolutely wanted to come back. I don't really want to talk about them or him too much, to be honest, but there doesn't seem to be that much love for him either, and it'll be a weird old dynamic with Chelsea.
He might not be there, Crackers. He might not be there.
Exactly. He might already be going.
Managers more than we do.
they might have Antonio Conte back there, mightn't they, by then?
Could you imagine?
I'm in trouble.
Can I ask, if I can, Jace, come over to you, the nature of the derbies? We had a manager in Maurizio that fully understood what it meant, those London derbies. And I think there's one thing you can always say, that we always seemed up for them under him. I want to think and would like to think with Postecoglou, he'll get that. He seems like a man that understands the traditions, the meaning of derbies. How do you feel, Jace, about the new manager? Do you think he'll approach these in the right way, that he understands the culture and the need to win these games and not sit back in a low block?
He's coming from Celtic, who play Rangers about 7 times a season. So I don't think Tottenham Arsenal game is any bigger as such than a Celtic Rangers game. We think it is, but when you've lived in, anyone that's been to an Old Firm game tell you there is nothing quite like an Old Firm game, and it's the biggest derby in the, if you like. So he'll be well aware of the expectations and things like that. I don't think Poch ever lost at the Emirates, did he? Or did he lose once at the Emirates?
No, he didn't. I don't believe he did. I think it was
he lost once.
Yeah.
I think we had several draws in. He might have lost once at the Emirates, I think, in a league game. But no, I don't have any doubts that he'll know what's expected of Tottenham. But let's be honest, our record there is so poor. It won't be down to Postecoglou, the difference between us winning and losing. We have to clear our heads and get ourselves right. But the good thing is, hopefully, it's a Champions League week that week. But I'm almost certain that'll end up being a Sunday game, not the 20th. It'll be ended the 24th. I'm sure the Chelsea game will be the Sky Super Sunday game and things like that. Some of those fixtures, don't forget, will move around for I think Brentford, the first weekend, will be one of the live games. Might even be the Friday game, or it might be the Monday game. Or something
it's confirmed. Brentford will definitely be the Sunday. It'll be Sunday at 2.
Sunday already. Yeah. It's already live on Sky.
Already confirmed.
Already confirmed that, though?
Yeah,
right, I haven't seen that. Yeah, right, I haven't seen that. How far have they gone with their games, or are they just announced
only the first? Only the first and the last game have been confirmed. I think there's a couple in December because of Amazon have taken the festive fixtures. They've also been confirmed. So we're still waiting on how those rest of the first 6 play out.
Brentford's Super Sunday straight away, is it?
But Brentford's a 2 o'clock Sunday game.
2 o'clock.
Yeah. They're showing 5 games, I think, Sky, in that first weekend, the Friday night football. And then they've probably got Saturday night football and then 3 games on a Sunday. I think.
Yeah, BT in amongst it all. So,
BT,
I mean,
that's another big change.
I'm sure the Arsenal game will also move to the Sunday as well, the 24th.
Yeah.
Again, Craig, if I can bring you in there, we talk a lot about the meaning of London derbies and how much they mean for the supporters. Again, it's hard to judge the man without obviously seeing the brand of football and what we've got to come and how the squad is going to change over the course of the summer. We hope it's going to change over the course of the summer. When you look at those fixtures, Cracks, what any of those scream out to you in terms of the timing and when we're facing these teams, London derby-wise?
No, not really. To be honest, a lot of them, as I said, maybe the Arsenal one, if they've done well in Europe, could be, the home game could be coming off, as Jason alluded to as well, is off the back of some European fixtures that we've got games. So we're sat with our feet up and, you know, they may have an away game. So no, they'll be tough. They're always tough, home or away. Timings of them, nothing really sort of stands out there. Brentford, I mean, Brentford, Fulham, Palace. It's more you sort of look at the Chelsea, West Ham, Arsenal games, don't you? And yeah, it's there's so many whys, whats, and wherefores, isn't there? Injuries. Have they got injuries? Have they got suspensions? Exactly. Have we? You know, so it's one of those things that will throw up something somewhere. With that, so they're kind of very, very difficult to take anything away from with just the dates, Rick.
That's fair. That's fair.
You got. I mean that running, as you say, City would be straight after a Champions League quarter-final, first leg. Arsenal would be straight before a semi-final first leg. And don't forget, when I say that, I don't mean the Champions League. They might be in the Europa League semi-final first leg. And Liverpool would be straight after a Europa League second leg semi-final. So, and if Arsenal and Liverpool are in those Europa Leagues, at that stage, they'll want to win them to get the automatic Champions League spot. So, you know, all three of those games, whilst you see them written down, you think that's a tough run-in. We'll have our feet up all week, and those three could all be involved in European games. Aston Villa away is straight after a Europa Conference League quarter-final. Brighton at home is straight before a Europa League knockout round games. So, you know, those clubs that Villa and Brighton and that aren't used to playing European games, the travel around European games, the twice a week, we're sitting at home with our feet up every time for 7 days. And I think that's why I've got a big hopes for the season. Don't forget, 5th gets Champions League next season as well.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So, can Tottenham get an extra 10 points next season than they did this year? Yes, they can. If we get an extra 10 points, we'll almost certainly have Champions League football again. But we want to win something for sure.
If we get an extra 11, we get top 4. I mean, that's the reality. Don't get me on my stats on the last 10, 15 years of top 4. What I was just quickly going to say, Craigs, you mentioned about injuries. Just looking at them fixtures, the London derby fixtures, you know, Bentancur is going to miss all of them fixtures, isn't he? Apart from West Ham, like the home fixtures. Look, Brentford, Arsenal, Fulham, Palace away, probably. Chelsea
maybe back Macca for Chelsea, but that might be again a bit of a push.
I mean, maybe, tough, isn't it? Like no Bentancur. I mean, you know, talking about because Craigs, you mentioned about injuries in the fixtures. But we've got one of our best.
Macca, he may not be back at all. That's a horrendous injury. And there's a lot of players that never ever come back to where they was after that. So yeah.
So good.
The flip side, Lee, may well be a fit Bissouma playing like Bissouma did at Brighton for those games. Because that's, you know, we need the Bissouma one, you know, we just didn't see Bissouma from Brighton at all, did we, last season? At any stage of the season. But hopefully with a good pre-season and with his injuries behind, hopefully he doesn't get reoccurring ones. But if he's fit, then that will be a help in losing Bentancur, that's for sure.
Just in terms, boys, of the festive fixtures, if I can bring them into play, Lee, coming over to you. No, I've got to say, I mean, the festive period was quite kind to Spurs last season. With a number of the London-based games, it was quite friendly. And it's relatively similar this term. We've got Brighton and Bournemouth on the cards. Now, that festive schedule brings that home game against Everton on December 23rd and a trip to Brighton on Boxing Day, followed by the visit of Bournemouth to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on December 30th. Thoughts, Lee, on how those fixtures have fell for us festive-wise? Happy with those?
Yeah, again, this isn't a points thing to begin with. Like the reason why I'm disappointed is because we were away at Brighton on Boxing Day, and you want to be at home on Boxing Day. In my opinion, my household is Boxing Day is football. So you know, and that's a chance to go and see. You know, you've been with your family and all that sort of stuff, and you go meet up with your mates at the stadium. I suppose the only caveat to that is, as I've said many times, my sister is a season ticket holder at Brighton, so you know she'll be having that. I won't be going to see her though because it's away, so you know it's one of them. I think from a points perspective, that's very kind. I mean, I know Jace would be laughing now when I say this. We're giving when John Wenham said it about Everton, but the reality is we should be beating and normally beat Everton at home. We've got Bournemouth, we should be beating them, and normally we didn't this season, of course, beat them at home. And going to Forest away, again, you should be picking up them points here. So the toughest game out of that lot is the Brighton game. And yet we went there last season away, and wasn't it when Kane kicked the Coke bottle? Was that last season? But we turned them over, whatever game it was.
It was a long time ago, but it was.
Yeah, it seemed ages ago, didn't it? But we ended up turning them over with no one else. I think we was one of the only teams to do the double over Brighton last year, which is craziness. So I'd look at them festive fixtures, and other than the fact that we're not at home at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Boxing Day itself, we've got some good fixtures there, I would say.
You know what's interesting, Jace, coming over to you, is that many picked up on the fact that Spurs will not be at their stadium for the start of the season, the end of the Premier League season, or on Boxing Day. And quite interestingly, when you compare that...
That's concerts
week. Yeah, it probably is.
We've requested that. Do you know what? Opening down a season, we've got an NFL match, and then at Christmas we've got Santa Claus coming down for the ghetto, and then obviously at the end of the season, we've got the cock or whatever it is running around. So we're renting it out.
Well, I think the thing is though,
Boxing Day, Rick, we can't be at home because we got Beyonce in a monster truck playing NFL on ice at the stadium in a go-kart, jumping off the roof.
We've got Mario down to the go-kart.
They put the extra 5 floors on that building next to the stadium because they got one of those I'm a Celebrity bungee challenges going on. Oh my God! Part of Ange Postecoglou's contract that was he wanted some very Australian feel to things. So the I'm a Celebrity angle to it.
It's been trying to make a serious point where it's been completely derailed by, analogies from Crackers and Lee. Jace, comparison that, we've had Arsenal that host Forest on their first match of the season. They then welcome West Ham on Boxing Day before getting a home match to end the campaign against Everton. And the same can be said with Chelsea. They open their, obviously, season for them in the shape of Liverpool. They welcome Palace on Boxing Day before hosting Bournemouth on the final day of the season. It's been a gripe for some fans. You bothered at all about this?
No.
And that's it.
Not bothered who
Many feel it's unfair the way how that has portrayed itself. Spurs not at home on the first game of the season, not at home over Christmas, and not at home at the end of the season, in comparison to those other clubs.
Oh, well.
Is that the random...
mate. The Ashes will be on. Don't care what we're over or away.
Well, you know what I do want to ask you, boys, is in terms of close the actual subject on the full fixture list is the key games. The key games obviously naturally going to be that first one at Brentford. And Cracks, to come over to you, you picked up on the fact that, Spurs could potentially have David Raya visiting his former club on the opening day of the season, which would be very, very interesting. It's a place where Spurs are yet to win on their travels. We hope it'll be third time lucky. Of course, the last couple of occasions, they've both been draws. Brentford, they're not going to be an easy side. They've only suffered 2 defeats from a possible 19 games in the Premier League last season. Only Arsenal and Newcastle were the teams to pick up maximum points in TW8. Cracks, how important is that first game of the season just to set the standards, just to set the scene, to give us some hope, some belief of what we've got to come?
Well, it depends how you're going to look at this next season. What's important for me, obviously, is results, but is how we begin to come back from where we are, how we play. I've already said to you, Rick, in some previous shows, I think we get our backsides handed to us on a plate a few times whilst he's trying to put things right, get the team playing in a way that he wants. So I've said that the fan base, we all need to be brave. We all are going to have to try and stick with this when we go through some undoubted sticky patches. Like Poch did, as Jason said earlier, we had some horrendous results, and don't be surprised to see us get beat 5-0 and then the next week win 5-0 just whilst we go through the motions. When it clicks, it would seem if he gets his brand of football going, it should be great, but there could be a lot of teams that actually work that out. I was reading in the week that, even if he's had 3 or 4 Tonkins, he's not for changing. He will not change his philosophy and his style. So, look, if we can go there with some renewed hope and go and get a result there, that's a massive springboard. It is a massive springboard. If we go there and we get done 3-0 or 3-1 or something, then there'll already be those questions, a media which will push a narrative of like, oh, we said, there was always, blah, blah, blah. He's out of his depth. It's this, it's that, and just sort of create the clicks and the phone calls and the text messages in as well. We're seeing it already with the media. Arsenal today have bid £80 million for Rice, apparently. And it's just being reported as £80 million opening bid. Whereas we've apparently made a £50 million bid for the two lads at Leicester. And it's like, oh, it's on the cheap again. It's this, it's that, just pay the money. Whereas, Arsenal doing some bidding for Rice, it's all part of the dance, they'll get there eventually, but you never bid. No, quite right. It's 80 million. It's somewhere near, and it's somewhere that gets a discussion started. Us, it's like, oh, see, they're lowballing again, and it's this and it's that, and Levy's trying to levy it again, and I give that board enough of a kicking on other matters, but it's an opening bid. It's an opening gambit. If even is one at all, even if it is
exactly, one, that's if we've made a bid, or it's Leicester saying it's Leicester trying to smoke a deal from somewhere. Oh, we've had a bid for 50.
Exactly.
We want more than that.
But there's always that narrative when it's us, Jace, isn't it? When we're doing it, it's like it's miserly, it's this, it's Levy being Levy again, and other clubs, it's like, that's not a bad opening bid. They might sort of get there. So, let's see the media narrative around Postecoglou. What I do quite like is, although Spurs do end up in the barrel quite a lot because we generate a hell of a lot of clicks and a hell of a lot of phone calls. That's why TalkSport and the papers are always writing or talking about us, because it generates so much traffic for them. Generally, across the media, he seems to be really well liked. There's a lot of love for Postecoglou. Personally, as I've said to you before, personally, I'll see how he goes. I back him, but I'm yet to be 100% convinced. But that might help him. It might actually help him that they don't sort of go after him too much to create yet another story. So, but yeah, let's see if we can go there, get a win, and get a really nice springboard to start with, Rick, at Brentford.
I totally agree. I do. I'm going to go from one extreme to another now, because I did cut off there the brutal end to the season. So I will come back to those key fixtures. But Lee, coming over to you, ahead of obviously that brutal end to the run of the season, we've got United that comes after that winter break on January the 13th. And now what many have alluded to the fact, in terms of that running that Spurs have got, they will end their campaign on the way back from April the 2nd. West Ham they've got. Then, of course, they've got Nottingham Forest on April the 6th. Then we travel to Newcastle, April the 13th. We host Man City on April the 20th before the home North London derby against Arsenal on the 27th. And we make our way then to Liverpool May the 4th before welcoming Burnley on May the 11th and ending the campaign with Sheffield United. Now, it may not sound as daunting me reading it as obviously us showing you it there for our viewers on YouTube. Lee, it's been made a lot of that. Many feel that's arguably the worst running Tottenham have ever had in the Premier League. Do you buy that notion, or is it just the fact of where the fixtures land? We've got to play everyone twice. And I think, like Jason has said, that a lot of these clubs towards the end of the season, if they're involved in European competition, that could change a lot in how they can put their squads out anyway. So are you as concerned as others are in terms of what's being labelled as the most nightmarish run towards the end of a season?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because, all the factors have to come into it. It depends how you're playing. If you're on a run of games of, you're unbeaten in, 10, 12 games heading into that West Ham game, you're not looking at any of them fixtures, are you? Shitting it. You're not looking at any of them, are you? If you're going into that West Ham game and you've just been turned over by Luton, you've got a draw at Fulham, you've been smashed by Villa, and you ain't had a win, you ain't strung 2 wins together for the last 8 games, then to be fair, it probably won't matter what's going on in April because we'll probably be relegated. But see what I'm saying? Like, so it doesn't make a difference on what the circumstances are. But I'm with Jason on this one as well. I generally do think it's going to be, look, whether or not you wanted to be in Europe or you didn't want to be in Europe, the fact of the matter is we're not, right? So that's gone. That train has sailed. That ship has sailed, sorry. And the crazy train goes on with no European football. And that will help us in them fixtures. It will. So you've just read the dates out. That is 7 days between every single one of them fixtures. And hopefully, in my opinion, we'll have an FA Cup semi-final in there, of course, as I said. Joking before, but hopefully we will. But other than that, we've got 7 days. I think that's really going to help, Rick. So, and I will point everybody as well. Like, football's a funny. The great man once said, "Football's a funny old game." And then when we were trying to qualify for the Champions League for the first time in our history under Harry Redknapp, we had to go and play Chelsea, Arsenal, and Man City, and we had to get a result in every single one of them fixtures in order to get to the top 4, and we did it. And and that was under in an era where we'd never been in the top 4 before. So we didn't have the know-how. The players didn't know how to get into the top 4. You could go back all the way to Martin Yole and the Lasagna Gate, and we didn't get in the top 4 that day. And you could say that we bottled it, whatever. But that's football, isn't it? That's the experience. And I think that generally as the big 6, I can't say top 6 at the moment, but as a big 6 club, and generally as a club that has finished top 5. Average position 5th in the Premier League over 32 years, the incentive of playing once a week, 2 domestic cups in a domestic league, and the fact that you top 5 gets you Champions League this year, I think that's massive. I think we've generally got a chance. Like Cracker said, if we get behind where we're at, there's a lot of grumbling still with the board, and I'm still one of them grumbling. Like, nothing's changed in terms of, as Crackers always says, nothing changes until it changes. But what we have got is we've got an opportunity now to get behind Big Ange, and he wasn't my first choice either, but we'll get behind him, bit of feel-good factor, brilliant football, at least front foot. And I was going to ask you guys, and obviously the viewers and listeners as well, Crackers and Jace, you both said we're going to have to be patient, we might lose games and so on and so forth. Poch had that situation. But if we're losing games like we were, or winning games, or playing games like we were sometimes under Harry Redknapp, do you remember when we were like going to Reading and winning 7-4? And Smith was like 6-4. If we're losing games, but you're seeing that type of football, is that because we're going to lose games anyway, like you said? So isn't that more? We can stomach that more, rather than being bored to death and still losing the game. So do you see what I mean? I think there might be a little bit more kind of patience, because we're still seeing good football, we're still seeing brilliant goals, even though we might not be getting it right. At least
I think it's a generational thing, Lee. I'm happy to firstly and foremostly see us play good, entertaining football. That doesn't always result in a win, but as long as I've gone and seen everybody give everything on the front foot, I'm happy. When a lot of younger viewers, listeners, they've been fed this dialogue of you're doing nothing unless you're winning trophies year in year. If you don't win trophies, it's all over. It's not for me. Look, I just want to see some entertaining football. I just want to see a little bit of fan base healing. That's what I want to see. How much of that you can get with Enoch still in charge, I don't really know, because I think there's bridges burnt now which ain't ever coming back. But just purely from turning up, and when the whistle blows, I just want to see maximum effort and front foot football. As I've said to you before, Rick and everybody, Sunderland away, when Darren Bent went now, and I think we got beat 3-2 it was, and they scored right at the death. What a ding dong! What an absolute ding dong of a game. And I came out, been beat, but I thought to myself, you know what? I enjoyed the game of football. Yes, I was disappointed we got beat. So that's where I am. I just want to see some entertaining football. Is there enough people of that mindset to give him the time to do it? I don't know. That's just something that will find its natural level, won't it? So
I think, like you say, Cracks, it's an opinion of everybody's, and everyone's different in what they are happy to see, what they're happy to be patient with, what they're happy to achieve over time. And I think, again, everybody's dynamic is different, where for Cracks and Jason and Yuli as well, that brand of football is hugely important. Many are happy just to eke out a 1-0 win and suffer the consequences of the 89 minutes, 90 minutes that you're going to watch. It isn't for everybody, but I do feel there's a feeling out Tottenham that certainly the match-going fans, that's no disrespect to the wonderful amount of viewers and listeners that we get overseas that watch these shows, but I think as a match-going fan, when you're paying the amount of money you're paying, you do want to see a brand of football that you can at least try and understand what we're trying to do and get behind. I think there's nothing worse than going and being absolutely bored to death for 90 and a 4+ minutes. And we've all did that last season and been put through the meal of it all. So as we said, a really tough running for Spurs. Go on, Jason.
I think it's where it's changed is the social media world has taken over. So, when Crackers and I were going, if you played a great game but you lost, you might see the highlights on Match of the Day, but you went in on Monday and there might have been a bit of ribbing and that was it. But now you'll have Paddy Power sending things outside the stadium. You'll have Joe. You'll have, so many of these pathetic media organisations that thrive off of just, mockery. That's how they make their clicks and that, so that, they'll mock Tottenham or they'll mock, when Arsenal, for instance, bottled the league, and we all did it, but they put, that idiot betting company sent the big bottle outside the stadium. So everyone's logging onto it and sending the image to, so suddenly in your timeline, you're going through your timeline, all you see is mockery of your football club. You've got people sending you it on WhatsApp. You've got it banged onto Instagram reels and things like that. And that's what is so draining now. That, if you're doing badly, it's just a constant bombardment, isn't it, from everywhere? And it's never the mediocre teams that get that mockery. You'll never see Bournemouth mocked, or you'll never see Wolves mocked, or you'll never see Southampton mocked or something. But when it can be one of those big clubs, be it Tottenham, be it Liverpool, be it Chelsea, bang, out comes the misery from everyone. And that's why I think whatever your brand of football is, the modern generation, they just think, oh, so what if we played good football and lost? I've now got 75 messages on my timeline saying we're crap. And that's how you have to live with it. And that's the big problem that you get with it nowadays.
I totally agree. So I say just a caveat.
Only 75 messages, Jace.
Not in our bloody WhatsApp group. It's more 750 when you come back after a day.
And do you know what? With all that as well, that's without mentioning the YouTubers as well that are worse than a lot, Rick.
Don't start me on those bloody YouTubers and podcasters.
Chelsea Rory and the two Manchester idiots and Barstool and all that crap that you have to put up with. Expressions is bad enough.
You want to try Jason McGovern on a Sunday, trying to get hold of the bloke when there's ashes in the golf on a turn, the cricket, but we've got to come here. We mentioned a tough running. I say Spurs taking on those 4 games in a row, Newcastle, City, Arsenal, Liverpool in their last 6 matches. Right, we're going to close it very quickly, if we can, on, like we say, those key fixtures. We mentioned, obviously, Brentford during the show. Arsenal, obviously, a big one. Leader, come over to you. Saturday, September the 23rd, it will be Ange Postecoglou's first North London derby. And we've got to say this, Spurs have not fared well, of course, away to Arsenal. Just the one win there in the Premier League era, delivered by Harry Redknapp. And this will be a real chance to send out a real statement of intent if they beat Arsenal, especially playing, Lee, an exciting brand of football. I think many will judge, Lee, how Spurs go to Arsenal. Will they go there playing an exciting brand of football, or will we sit back and almost try to play on the counter-attack like we've done under Conte, like we've done under Nuno, like we've done under Mourinho, Lee? Is that important about how we see that game to come with Arsenal and how we approach it?
Or will we be pushed back, Lee? Pushed back. Because you've got to accept they're a good side.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. No, exactly that. I mean, I think that we won't go there intentionally to part the bus or to do a low block or anything like that. Everything that we've read, everything that we've heard, everything we've watched about Postecoglou. I think I got it, boys. Viewers and listeners, Postecoglou, come on. It's only taken me a while. I think with everything that we've done, the research that we've done on Big Ange, I won't go too much, is good. And I think that the front foot football's there, the high press there. I think the advantage about going into Arsenal at that point is that we got I can't remember what it was in our first 5 games. I can't remember what you just put up, but I think in our first 5 games or 6 games, at least we've got a few games under our belt playing. So they're not in our first 5 there. So maybe it's our 6th game. So we're going there with our 6th or 7th game. And the reality is that we went there last year. What was it? We must have gone there match day 7, I think it was. We were unbeaten, and they took
just
our
before the international break, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, they took our unbeaten record. And actually, these North London derbies are a nightmare, aren't they? Because they're probably the worst fixture. It's the fixture you look forward to, and it's the fixture you hate. It's a classic, isn't it? You absolutely hate it, you absolutely love it. All depending on the result. And there's always an incident that happens. I mean, Holding got sent off when we smashed them 3-0. Emerson got sent off when we lost to them in that fixture that we talked about last season at their place. Kabul got a header. We were 2-0 down. The last time we won in the Premier League at the Emirates, we were 2-0 down. And we ended up with, I think it was a Van der Vaart penalty. This is top of my head. Van der Vaart penalty got us back into it. I think Bale got an equaliser. It might have been the other way around. Bale and then the Van der Vaart penalty. And then I think it was a 92nd or 3rd minute when Kabul header backwards and he scores. So we were already like classic Spurs, go to the Emirates, bottling it, 2-0 down. And yes, it was a great comeback, but that was 2011. So the expectation from us as Spurs fans is that we go to the Emirates and we lose, right? Or we don't win. For sure. That has to be the expectation because that's what normally happens. So for Ange to go there and get us playing decent football against them and have a ding-dong match. I mean, remember that game that we drew 4-4? I mean, if we get one of them out of it, they've had a go, we've had a go. It's like a basketball with 2 boxes going at it. That's my point. That's got to be more entertaining, isn't it, than going and just rolling over and losing 2-0.
I agree.
Rick, everybody that got something at the Emirates last season was brave. No, everybody that won went and took the game to them.
Look at Brighton was there, Rich. Look at Brighton was there, Rich.
Correct. Yeah. So that's
the
way. Yeah, you go and sit back there, they will tear you to pieces. They are a decent side. It's as simple as that. If you go there and put it on them, you've got more of a chance. So and everybody I saw and went there and went brave, either only just got beat or got a draw or even won. So it's one of those ones. Go in there. I don't want to get beat 3-0 in a low block and just go out there, be sheep and a lamb and all that. Just go and give it a go. If you do, if it doesn't come off, it doesn't come off. This is where I'm talking about fans being brave. It was like, okay, we went toe to toe, and today wasn't the day we got done. But it's funny. It's almost as if something like "to dare is to do" should be like the club motto, isn't it? That's
a good idea.
I might pitch that to the club.
Can you wake me up when we start daring and doing, please?
Well, exactly. It's not the motto for no reason, is it? That's what we all bought into. Like from kids up to silly old buggers like Jason and I. This is what you want. Yeah. It's the little bit of dare and a little bit of do.
My only concern with Jason, I know he's got his eyes fixated on either the golf or the cricket or the underwater volleyball, is that his face looks like he's watching back those London derbies from last season. He looks terrified from what he is being put through there to watch. I can only imagine who is going and who's having a negative result there. Jason, I just want to ask you what another key game we was going to look to close this show. Saturday, November the 4th. Tottenham versus Chelsea, 4 years on from his Tottenham exit. The start of November, we'll see Maurizio Pochettino return to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for the very first time. Man, I'd be interested to hear the mood, what that's going to be like in that game. I mean, I suppose a lot will really play into the fact of how well both teams have started, right? That's going to be key as to how that game will be approached and probably the reaction. Maurizio, make that joke Lee said earlier, if he's still there. Because you've got to say that. You never know. If he is still there when that game comes around. You never know, Mackie. You never know. Jace, what should we expect November the 4th? Fireworks, potentially?
Hopefully, as you say, it will depend how we've started. I don't think he'll get a hero's reception because I think come the day, Chelsea will be giving us so much abuse for it that our fans won't want to show that we're in love with their manager type of thing. So, but hopefully he gets, he did a really good job for us, but time has moved on. And if we're starting well, and we've built some momentum by then hopefully we just forget about the Pochettino factor, concentrate on us, go out and get 3 points. We've done them at home last year. Let's go and do the same again. And I mean, the media, of course, it will be built as Pochettino going back there. But I just look at it. I mean, the Chelsea game, it's a weird one for me. Perhaps I'm one of the few people. They're just nothing to me, Chelsea. I know there's the big rivals for so many. The Arsenal game is massive to me. After that, the Chelsea game to me is no bigger than Fulham. It's no bigger than Crystal Palace or West Ham. I just look at them and think, you're blue Fulham. I don't get caught up in all the Chelsea I know they've beaten us time and time again when it matters, and that gets to you. But it's just, I go in on a Monday and it's, all right, so we lost to Chelsea. It doesn't stay in me, the Chelsea game. So I honestly, Rick, I just look at Chelsea as it's just another game. It's nothing to me.
I think for many, though, I think the spice now added of the ex-managers that have been and gone between the two clubs and how they've traded them. I don't know if any of you boys have got a different opinion on that at all.
I understand it, but just for me, nothing.
I'm completely opposite. I mean, there's a point now with Poch going back. I mean, I won't boo the bloke, but I mean, I do not understand how he's gone there, if I'm brutally honest about it. I don't, you can argue to toss with me about he needs a job, he needs to get work, but I just, for me, I just don't get it. I don't get why we keep having ex-Chelsea managers either. I've never got that. My father-in-law, is a season goal at Chelsea, so we have some banter and stuff. But it's the pain that they have put on us in some of the key fixtures, ironically under Poch's era. But more so, it's the fact that they hate us. Like, I don't get why they hate us. Why do they hate us?
It's the last I'm going to say this with Maurizio. It's the last I'm going to say this with Maurizio. It's the last I'm going to say this for a man that loved the football club, to be sitting in that stadium once a fortnight and hear "We Hate Tottenham" continuously being sung. There's a rivalry
with me, with the Chelsea, not with their fans, because I love my father-in-law, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean? But like, the rivalry for me comes from the fact that, why are we a threat to you? Like, to them, we should be almost like West Ham, are to us. Do you know what I mean? Like, we never challenge them. They always win everything. Like, why are they bothered about us? But they're bothered about us. And that's that's where that rivalry, I think, has come from. And then the Battle of the Bridge and the fact that, they turned us over, our proper title challenge year, they turned us over as well and beat us by 7 points. And, we were so bloody good that year, viewers and listeners, weren't we, lads? We were so good. And we couldn't get it. So that, for me, is that I looked at them fixtures, the Arsenal fixture, the Boxing Day fixtures, the Chelsea fixtures, and then my birthday fixtures, which, luckily for me, there's no one on there. But we're playing bloody West Ham on my wedding anniversary, that's annoying to go over the line, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Choker.
A lot of the rivalry gets handed down, Lee, isn't it? And what people forget is we sent them down. Crackers will remember that. We sent them down. 75, we relegated them. Almost like penultimate game, White Hart Lane, 50
last but one,
And we sent them down with a 2-0 win.
Is that where it comes from then?
And so I think that's where a lot of that rivalry starts from, of the 40, 50-year-olds who can remember that, or the 50-year-olds certainly. And then that kind of gets put down to your son, and he grows up thinking, God, I hate Tottenham, because Dad always tells me to hate Tottenham.
There's a lot of elements to it as well, from the 70s as well. They always have had quite a right-wing fan base, where we've been a little bit more cosmopolitan with a fan base. So there was a lot of that came out the 70s and 80s, with the right wing, left wing politics of the two clubs, and Spurs have always been a little bit more Celtic, which seems quite ironic, and Rangers have always been a little bit more sort of Chelsea. But it all comes out of it all goes into the mixing pot. But I'm with Jace. Chelsea is one of those Haribos shaped like a strawberry, supposedly tastes like a strawberry, but isn't quite a strawberry, whereas Tottenham Arsenal is a big old fat Kent strawberry served up at Wimbledon with cream on the top, isn't it? It's that's the difference. That's the one. You're eating a strawberry when you're playing Arsenal. When it's Chelsea, it's a packet of Haribo strawberry shapes, isn't it?
Gotta say, don't let anyone tell you on this show you know what's coming next, right? Don't let anyone ever tell you that you know on the show what's coming next. I can tell you, I bloody don't. I was just about to say, I always get an education on this show, and we go to bloody Haribo. So how do you end the show on that? The final two key fixtures you may mention, of course, Spurs, Man City. Will Pep Guardiola finally get what he's been praying? A goal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Saturday, April the 20th. That date, of course, may be subject to change. And last game of the season, Sunday, May the 19th, Sheffield United, we know that game won't change in terms of that date. Will Spurs get some comfort and some revenge, of course, after Sheffield United knocked us out of the FA Cup? One that I know I'm still not over. I'm still not over Forest in the League Cup. How sad is that? But we've got a new season ahead. We have got a new manager. We have got a new CFO. We are going to have some new players. We're going to have some optimism. Guys, this is the time now where you give us your...
We've got a new instrument. We've got a new instrument.
This is now the time where... Go on, Lee. Play it for us. Play it for us now. We'll do...
When you're finished.
Well, can we very quickly give us your position where Spurs are going to finish for the 23-24 season? We're going to go in the row, and Lee's going to close it on that absolute baboon of a ornament. Crackers, let's start with you. You can't take this back. You are live on both, like I say, the YouTube, and it'll go live on audio now. Your prediction for Tottenham's season 23-24.
I think we probably make a 2 or 3. We could our 5th, 6th. I think 6 if it goes well. I just want to see better football. If we end up 2 places below where we was last season, but I can see something building, I'm happy with that. As long as I can see something beginning to come through, the green shoots of recovery. So, but I think we'll be all right. As Lee said, terrible season last year. A couple of results went our way, and we make Europe. So it can be worse, but it can't. It just can't be.
Worse.
I reckon,
got to play us out on that thing.
5th, 6th, I reckon. Rick, cheers.
Okay,
thank you.
Interesting. No problem at all. Jace, position time. What we're going to be finishing in the 23-24 season?
I think the very worst place we'll finish is 6th. Very worst place we'll finish 6th. And I think we could get 4 or 5. Definitely.
Which could be Champions League football, potentially.
Because I think the 3 weeks makes a difference. And then I think a lot of the teams that are behind us will struggle with the Villa and Brighton. They're not just in Europe. They've got to embrace Europe. Like West Ham, in fairness, have embraced it in their current seasons. You remember when West Ham were 4th and then suddenly really went for Europa, how they tailed off. Remember when they beat Seville and Lyon and all of that. And the Brightons and Villas and that, they won't be able to strengthen enough to embrace Europe and embrace the Premier League at the same time. So I think there'll be a coupling that they'll be that bit worse and we'll be that little bit better. The net difference will be a big gap between us and those teams. So definitely 6, but I think we can get 4th or 5th again. Okay,
superb. Lee, prediction time, bud. What are we going to go for?
Yeah, I'm going to go for some stats, some point stats around this. So 71, 72 points guarantees you top 4 in the last 12, 13 seasons on average. And top 6, 62 points guarantees you a top 6 place in the last 12, 15, 10, 12 seasons.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. And then top 5 finish is a point. So I'm going to round it up to 67 just for the benefit of it. So 67 points will get you a top 5 finish. So if you now look at that and go, we had an absolutely nightmare, horrific season and got 60 points. And all of us said earlier, we're going to have a better season. We also can afford to have a smaller squad because we're only playing once a week. We've got them 7 days. Can we find another 7 points from somewhere? And my answer is an absolutely overwhelming yes, we can. So I think we're going to finish in the top 5. I think, ironically, that is Champions League football because of the coefficient, unless we got that wrong, but I think we got that right. And therefore, we should be playing Champions League football again under Big Ange.
Fingers crossed. We're going to keep our fingers crossed. Before Lee does play us out, we've got a couple of housekeeping things. We're going to come over to Cracks as well, who's got a really big show that we need to mention. That's still got tickets available for that. We have to bring it in. But just a reminder that we are still sponsored by NordVPN. And you can grab your exclusive NordVPN plan right now by going to nordvpn.com/lastwordonspurs. FixTure.com/LWS to get a huge discount plus a bonus gift. It is risk-free with no 30-day back money guarantee. And the reason why I say that is that Jason McGovern is heading over back to Bangkok, where he will be seeing Spurs on a pre-season tour. Jace, are you excited first you were going back? You must be excited, right? It's a great, you love the culture over there. It'll be really great to get over there, right?
Absolutely fantastic, mate. And, it's not just because Tottenham are there. It's where my heart always is in that country. So I always feel that it's, despite all the years I've lived here, it's the country I've always wanted to be to, and it's where I genuinely feel happiest and at home. So without a doubt, can't wait to go back.
And many don't know this, but Jace, on a different show, he used to get up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning, was it, Jace, sometimes to come and do a podcast before we did?
Yeah,
3
a.m.
on Spurs?
Like 3 a.m. in the morning.
I'll just say, don't get him on these days at that time. You'd be lucky to even see him, let alone get him on at 4 a.m. these days. If the golf's on, forget it. You won't get him up for Forest in the Cup at 4 a.m.
And I tell you what, I would never have got up for a checker trade try, that's for sure. Not even the final.
Bloody good, I know that now, just in case we do qualify for it. Cracks, very quickly, you've got this wonderful night coming up with Danny Rose. I know there's tickets still available. I will just quickly say again, this is going to make a fantastic Father's Day present. So anybody on the lookout thinking, got to get tickets for something, Father's Day's coming. Cracks, how can people do that? There's still tickets available. Amazingly, there's still tickets available.
Yep, couple of shows coming up. Very, very few tickets left for both. There's Michael Dawson Friday week at Hereford FC with Herefordshire Spurs. So see at Mr. Cracknell. I'm always putting up the posters for those. And then Friday, the 7th of July, Danny Rose in Arness Grove, right by Arness Grove Station. Friday the 7th. So yeah, he's I think he'll have one or two interesting things to say and thoughts. He doesn't hide his light under a bushel. So I'm really looking forward to that. That comes with a dinner. I'm really looking forward to that. That's closeencounter.events for your tickets, and you get a dinner and there's meet and greet options and everything. So bless you for that. And then I'll be back later in the year. We always have the summer off, and then there'll be a load more shows. But it'd be good to see you either at Hereford with Michael Dawson or Danny Rose at Arness Grove.
I want to say, I think that will be an exclusive with Danny. I don't know anybody else that's got him on a one-to-one like that with an audience. So I think, a player that actually is still, you'd say, seen as part of what the current era, you'd say, in the last 4 or 5 years. Played under Maurizio, of course. Of course, I think played under Harry. There's going to be some amazing stories there. So
even just for the debut goal versus that mob. There's a story there. And, of course, played in Amsterdam as well. Was it the Amsterdam game? There's nobody else from that team talking about that night, so you'll get all the inside from what went on and the after, and the partying and everything. So I'm really looking forward to that. And he's a nice lad. He really is. I know he divides opinion a little bit, but he is a really, really good lad.
Didn't he nutmeg in that Champions League semi-final? Did he not nutmeg one of the wingers or whatever to start that move for the Lucas?
He did. Yeah.
He was the genesis of it.
It was a brilliant bit of skill. He fucking nutmegged him. Yeah. Get in there, Danny Rose. He gets it.
Honestly, I think unbelievable show. Macca, anything to plug? Anything worth coming up? Anything worth giving a mention?
Mate, I've got loads of things to plug, mate. You never let me plug stuff. Phoenix 51.
How dare you?
Employee technology one. Go and check us out.
We know Phoenix 51 are. We hear him on this bloody audio every week.
That's what you need.
And we love him.
I'll tell you what we're going to plug, right? We're going to plug.
Go on, play us out.
Didgeridoo lessons.
The didgeridoo. So look, I'm just going to play a didgeridoo, so I'll say goodbye now. I'm going to get much better at this. I've got it out a lot. So it's not very good at the minute. Let's just go around this side. Right, ready?
I love this.
Feels like an evacuation, doesn't it? Out! Everybody out!
Still think it looks like the gun off a tank. The gun off a tank or something. Look at
well,
it.
I will.
It's got like
go on, Macca. I will do our exits as Lee plays us out. Listen, from the wonderful Richard Cracknell. Rich, thank you so much, Bob. We look forward to having you with us
Thank you.
soon.
Listen, I'm just in awe of this. Go on, Lee. Over the top of us all talking.
Okay,
This is fantastic.
Yeah, do it in the background.
Come on.
Jace,
We need to get a campaign going to allow Lee to bring that into the south stand. I mean, if you can get that echoing off the roof, as how much would Ange love that? If we had 2 or 3 didgeridoo players around the stadium.
Can you imagine you're sitting next to the bloke with that? I mean, that is not offence, is it? That not offence?
Imagine if you're playing it and all of a sudden you score and you turn around to celebrate with the people next to you and you take about 15 people out, wouldn't you?
All I know is the Ashes starts tomorrow and this clown's got a didgeridoo.
Jace, I want to say a massive thank you, mate, for fitting us into your busy summer cricket, footballing, underwater volleyball plans. Jace, thank you so much, bud.
Cheers, fella. Good to
Always
catch
a
up.
pleasure. And Lee, I'll let you get your breath back, mate. Thank you so much. I said, mate, I don't know where this show goes, so no words. No words.
Mate. Thanks for having me back on. Look, it's all a bit of fun. If you can't have fun, you've got nothing, right?
Absolutely agree.
Let the football drive us mad when it comes back. But until then, have a bit of a laugh with it.
Rick, I see somebody's asking where the boomerang is. And do you know I bought a boomerang once off of a ghost. Do you know that, Rick? I bet that returns to haunt me.
See what he done there. Right, on the basis of that, and on the basis of the last hour and a half, I want to say a massive thank you to our wonderful viewers and listeners who've tuned in your thousands once again. But for the wonderful Richard Cracknell, the superb Jason McGovern, the brilliant Lee McQueen, we have been the last one on Spurs. Yes, we are the last one on Spurs. God knows where we're going to be going as the last one on Spurs. But from all of us here, please keep safe, keep well. Lots of love. Enjoy Father's Day. And for everybody out there, come on, you